Now, next episode, they plan to rectify that, exposing Raculus. However, they want to make a big event out of it by throwing a funeral for Gira, only for him to pop out of the coffin going, "I'm back, bitches." And do they really need to do that? Look, I'm all for telling the truth about Raculus because he's been the most daring villain so far, and I mean that. Like, yeah, the Bugnarok want to take over the surface world and all, but they feel so secondary compared to Raculus. But don't get me wrong, the Bugnarok cause more destruction, but Raculus wants to control the chaos and does more internal damage by playing politics. But back on topic, I'd rather Gira just walk out in public for everyone to see, because why exaggerate when they could just tell the truth right there and then? I know they give a reason for it in the show, but I always thought one trait all political leaders should have is honesty. But in said next episode, episode 11, the plan is interrupted by an individual in a white cloak and a spider-like mask. He binds the coffin in spiderwebs and runs off with the coffin with Gira inside. Now in next episode, we are reintroduced to the narrator, Jeremy Birashi. He's not only the narrator we've heard up to now, but also many things. A Renaissance man, if you will. He wrote the story of the 5 Kings and Kingohger, and he sets the show in motion before it begins, hiding the 3 guardian shoe gods where they were all found, so that everything could play out like how they did right now. Jeremy is unique, as he is weird. Weird because he's quirky, speaking in storyteller to give hints about himself, and unique as he's part human, part Bugnarok. One piece of the Kingohger story that was left out was there was a 6th king, a knight who fell in love with the Bugnarok and obviously had a child. With all that explained, being related to the 6th king means Jeremy is our 6th ranger, Spider KUMONOSU, our first white 6th ranger since Deca Break from Deca Ranger literally 20 years ago. Yeah, seriously. And I really like this suit. It's between this and Papillon Ogre on which one's my favorite, because this is a really fly suit. What I love the most about it are all the colors. White, black, gold, and gray, like on the arms. And you know how the 5 Kingohgers have those capes on the back? He has like a trench coat type of cloak going down, and that just makes him look more cool. And shoot, once we get to his mech, we'll see why they went for Tarantula when they already have a spider mech for Kingohger. But before then, let's talk about his arsenal. His Morpher mirrors the others, but it's a short sword. And he's the only one that uses a collectible. He uses keys for most things, like summoning his mech and so on. But more interestingly, his gun, it's like one of those pesticide cans that exterminators use for when they want to put pesticide down. For a show about insects, they really go for the references. But with that gun, well, first off, he got that from his mom, and he uses that to create illusions and whatnot. But with all that aside, let's talk about something really important. For example, Spider KUMONOSU's debut battle, and how he humbles Desnarok. He humbled him, literally fighting with tricks and illusions. He can also shoot webs from his arms like Spider-Man, and he takes him down a peg so much. And what makes it even more awesome is that before then, each of the Kingohgers have fought Desnarok one-on-one, and he wiped the floor with all of them. But this time, It's a one-on-one match, and he straight up owns him. So, as Spider Kumonos, Jeremy swears to become the king of everything, uniting the humans and the Bugnarok together in harmony. And I get it, because Jeremy's proof that humans and Bugnarok can get along. So, in episode 13, we get the debut of Jeremy's shoe god, God Tarantula. And this is what I mean about why they went with a tarantula when they already have a spider-like mech for Kingohger. Tarantulas are way bigger than spiders, and this guy is huge. Like, imagine being a kaiju and you see a giant tarantula up to your neck. That huge. That is just so creepy and terrifying. And 2 episodes later, we see God Tarantula's, I guess you can say his Megazord mode, Tarantula Knight, which is also cool. The legs are pretty interesting. Like, this mech reminds me of Bionicles from back in the day. If you're watching this video, then you know what Bionicles are. Because just looking at that, the legs, the arm... Thankfully, they did something with, like, all the legs that a tarantula usually has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That'd be on the back or something. Sorry, I was just counting all the legs. Because just... Overall, this mech is... It's nice. It's pretty cool. And the fact that it's so slim and could move around and whatnot, it looks cool. Shame that it's only CGI, because it would just look so cool to see an actual suit of it. And so, episode 15, Kaguragi's been the odd one out of the main 5, well, now 6 Kingohgers, due to his siding with Raculus. Part of his reasons for siding with Raculus is because, in exchange for Tofu to pick itself up back from dire straits, Kaguragi's sister Suzume was taken as collateral by Raculus. At first, it turns out she's in love with Raculus. Stockholm Syndrome, like, what are you gonna do? That book got opened anyway because Jeremy was there and he wanted to make good between humans and the Bugnarok. But so, Jeremy. Where is that here? So Jeremy brings Raculus to Desnarok so they could talk. But still, everyone tells Jeremy not to trust Raculus. And in episode 17, he learns why not to trust Raculus. Because the Bugnarok and Shogadam are now in alliance together. You can just read Jeremy's face when he realizes he half got what he wanted, but flipped on its head. But now the Bugnarok are attacking the 4 other kingdoms. Nations, kingdom, they're all the same. And with Raculus's help, the Bugnarok resurrect a fallen warrior that fought alongside Desnarok, Daigolgo. So, just for more context, the Bugnarok are invading Niscopa. Himeno and Rita are evacuating the people out, but Yanma and Jeremy are facing Daigolgo. Like, Yanma's defeated and about to be killed until Gira saves him in front of Raculus for all to see and know. And so, episode 18, The First Crown. Raculus debuts the Ohsama Caliber. Well, no, I said that name wrong. Raculus debuts the Ohsama Crown, an heirloom of the Husky family that's been passed down for generations. And along with the Ohsama Lance, Raculus can become King Okuagata Ohsama and annihilates Gira. The tide starts turning in the good guy's favor once Kaguragi steals the Ohsama Crown and Lance for Gira. It turns out Kaguragi and Suzume have been planning to double-cross Raculus. First by trying to steal Kingohger Zero until they changed their sights on the Ohsama crown and lance.
You disloyal fool-ass bitch-made punk.
So now, let's talk about Gira's power-up, King Kuwagata Ohsama, and said power-up turns our Red Ranger into a Gold Ranger, and even giving him a different bug motif, switching from a stag beetle to a caucus beetle. Now, design alone, you can just tell this was meant for red, because when Racules wears it, you still see parts of gray, silver showing. He also looks a lot more maniacal, which is nice, and that's cool too. And gray and gold do go together. And with Gira, it's just, yeah, he's a Gold Ranger now. He gets 2 cloaks, and the change in the helmet, that's the part that does it for me, because the crown part is coordinated there. And while we're still appreciating King Kuwagata Ohsama, first time ever where a Closu Henshin device is a crown. And shoot, it's not like some bracelet, a belt, or anything. Like, it's a straight up crown. You wear it, you transform, there you go. And one of the Ohsama crown's abilities is to perfectly unite 13 shoe gods to form Extreme Kingohger.
Oh, my back!
Episode 19. The Bugnok have raided Shogadam, and I must say, evil is stupid. Like, I'm pretty sure it's Duga, one of Racules' goons. He is now thinking that they've gone too far. His boss has threatened other countries before now, but once his home gets jammed up, now things have gone too far.
Give us a second.
The Kingohger saved the day, driving the Bugnok out, and this episode is where we hear the team name for the first time. Named after the mech, and named after this episode, Ohsama Sentai Kingohger. Not that we all don't know the name of the show. Remember, way back, Racules broke up the treaty, so now the rulers plus Gira and Jeremy are debuting their new alliance and new name, well, the new Kingohger, or the current King. Look, their name now is Kingohger. Try going on the wiki and looking up this episode. Ohsama Sentai Kingohger, episode 19, Ohsama Sentai Kingohger. I love Sentai. So, Racules, through part of this episode, has been bound in webs thanks to Jeremy and Yanma. And Yanma, he's not an idiot, but he's too smart to be a child's level of immature. Then again, this next part of reason is a bit ridiculous. Like, so, Racules is caught in webs. So what does Jeremy and Yanma do? Here's an idea. Have Racules fall on a whoopee cushion, which is why afterwards he doesn't get arrested. Now, apparently, this is what I mean. The laws in Chiku are too neutral. And considering last time they wanted to avoid Gira and Racules' duel through loopholes, how is this any different? Hell, if I was Yanma, I wouldn't waste time with the frickin' last century joke and kill him right there and then. Hell, why did they even bother saying, oh, we can't arrest him? Why not just give him the death penalty? There are plenty of times where Rita literally says that in the show. Oh my god. But instead, Gira and Racules have trial by combat again. And I don't like that. I don't like that the trial by combat this time is because we don't know what to do with Reculus. Other times, it's just, dude, just finish them right here and now. We don't need a, like, ugh. But so, next episode, which is episode 20, I don't like how the episode started, but I like where it headed. Gira and Reculus battle, Gira wins, and Reculus falls to death. Just throwing this out there, someone should probably check his corpse. And so, Gira is a king. I got something special to say about that, but I'm going to wait till we get to the end. And so, episodes 21 through 23, a crisis arises when the Bugnarok Shogun Daigogo eats the 3 guardian shoe gods, shoe souls, and god tarantulas, and begins to grow in size, like way bigger than Kingohger. So the only hope Shugadam has is the Kabuto Castle, because it turns out the castle can turn into a robot.
What a twist!
But the castle's 2,000 years old, so surprisingly and expectedly, it's not functional. Think about it. If you watch Sentai or Power Rangers, then there are times when we've seen very old Zords have no problems. But here, it's an old castle that had to have been through renovations now and then to make it livable. And that's the focus, repairing it to become a Deca-based robo. But now, let's talk about the mech, shall we? Because they get it working, and they defeat Daigogo with it. So King Kabuto, not a fan. It focuses too much on being intimidating. It's huge, okay, that's nice. But it's blocky, it's way too disproportionate, because the pauldrons are too long, the helmets are too long. It's like, everything with this mech is too much. I like that a shoe god is its weapon, but it's just too much. Episode 24, Jeremy intercedes on Desnarok's latest plan to journey to the center of the Earth to destroy the planet, but by proxy, throwing himself into the planet's core would also kill him. This episode poses a very interesting question that you don't think too often, and that is, why are the bad guys the bad guys? Why do you think the Bugnarok bother being evil? Especially since the Bugnaroks aren't technically aliens. They're inhabitants of Chiku too, so why not coexist? And Jeremy feels the most conflicted by everything, almost feeling responsible for the current conflict now, in a way. Considering he wrote the legend, he feels like he unknowingly instigated things.
That's rough, buddy.
The latter half of the episode is Jeremy just reasoning, pleading, and begging Desnarok not to do this. Remember, throwing himself to the planet's core will kill him as much as it'll everyone else. But he eats Shugod's souls and drops in growing big. My sheets are in the wash. Episode 25. I want to talk about Jeremy for a bit, because the episode starts on him and his new Bugnarok friend from a couple episodes ago, Girojim. He's from the episode where Yanma wanted to prank Reculus with Jeremy's gun to make a whoopee cushion. Anyway, he was a monster of the week, and instead of dying, he fakes his death through illusion because he has illusion creating powers. And this guy becomes he becomes Jeremy's friend, confidant, and the reason for Jeremy getting his conviction to fight Desnarok. The only way to beat Desnarok 2 and save the world, of course, is to combine all the Shu Gods and the Caucasus Kabuto Castle to form God Kingohger. However, God Kingohger is so powerful, it's too powerful just for 6 people to pilot. Now, there are auxiliary mechs in this show that I didn't bother to mention because they weren't worth mentioning. But we're talking about all 20 Shu Gods, so they need to pick 14 other people out of their most trusted allies to help them on their most dangerous mission yet. I like that they built it up with the glimmer on the sword shining as a sign of the Shu Gods choosing pilots. The theme of the episode is having resolve, and this isn't a task our heroes can do alone. They need help from the public, and having to ask is heavy for all of them. Speaking of said mission, God Kingohger. This is what I mean when I said I was going to have the same thing to say about every other combination past Kingohger. What is going on? It's like you got the castle all around, and that's nothing special, but there's so much going on from the front to the back. The back does the most work, because what's back there? The freaking Dragonfly, God Tonbo, and God Tarantula literally up here being shoulder cannons. But the fact that it's literally Tarantula Knight just going on the back. And, I actually thought of something unique a while ago. And I was curious to think, what if God Kingohger was literally the Caucasus Kabuto Castle and the first 5 mechs? I was curious to see what that would be like. Because this is just... there's too much and a lot going on. Like, we get it. There are bugs in everywhere. Like, you got the tarantula legs, and once again, God Tarantula Knight on the back. Yeah, it has wings. Like, God Papillon's on the back, too. There's a lot going on, and it's just, holy hell. And so... also, keep in mind, it takes 20 people to pilot God Kingohger. After this, it's just going to take 6 people to pilot it. And so, with God Kingohger's power, Desnarok's beaten, but not killed. So, episode 26. The Kingohgers and the Bugnarok have their final battle, and Jeremy challenges Desnarok to be king of the Bugnarok. But before the fight, Jeremy brings Gira and Rita to learn more about the Bugnarok. Mainly that they used to be human, but they started eating Shu Gods and souls to change their appearances and grow. And what a contrast. Honestly, I mean that. Like, the Bugnarok eating bugs to arm themselves in comparison to the humans who fight alongside the Shu Gods. What a way to reflect parasitic and symbiotic relationships. You know what stands out about this final fight? The dialogue. The action, of course, is awesome, but it's more than just for the sake of the world. How many Toku shows have any of us seen where you wonder, all this could have been avoided if people just sat down and talked? Conflict's the solution. Everyone's decided to resolve things. But I like that everyone talks. The Bugnarok believe they deserve respect and real citizenship, and Jeremy believes everyone matters. And as soon as they make a breakthrough, Kamigem stabs him in the back to leave him for dead, wanting the human-Bugnarok conflict to continue. Kamigem grows, and God Kingohger defeats him, and with that, the world is saved. What a climax. This episode was fantastic. It has a slow start, and if I could be honest, and I'm a little curious, well, for one, I want to get one thing out of the way. One flaw about this episode is that it's padded in the beginning. The battle after God Kingohger's debut should have kept going, because the results would still be the same. Desnarock's defeated and Jeremy becomes the new king of the Bugnarok. We get insight on the Bugnarok, and that's nice, but I wonder if that could have fit anywhere else. But considering this is the last time we'll get to focus on the Bugnarok as our villains, why not? Where else? But that's the end of Desnarok, and Jeremy and the Bugnarok are acknowledged as the 6th kingdom of Chiku, the Rift Kingdom. There's a long road ahead, but history is now set right.